In July 2024, a rare diplomatic breakthrough emerged in the South China Sea. The Philippines and China agreed to a provisional arrangement for resupplying the BRP Sierra Madre at 2nd Thomas Shoal. For a brief window, Filipino missions proceeded without harassment, offering a glimpse of stability in a region fraught with tension. This deal was significant, a pause in a year marked by aggressive confrontations and near misses that threatened to spiral into open conflict. The arrangement, however, was narrowly focused and temporary, addressing only one outpost and leaving core sovereignty disputes untouched. It was a diplomatic bandage, not a cure. The underlying issues, China's sweeping 9-line claim and the Philippines' resolve to defend its exclusive economic zone, remained unresolved. The deal showed that direct bilateral talks could yield results but also highlighted the limits of such diplomacy. For President Marcos Jr., it was a calculated move to buy time and lower the temperature, but the calm was always fragile. The July understanding became a test case. Could practical agreements prevent disaster, or were they just fleeting pauses in a much larger struggle? The answer would come soon, as events quickly exposed the shallow foundations of this fragile calm. The Philippines would soon be forced to rethink its entire strategy in the region. The calm of July 2024 was short-lived. Confrontations quickly shifted to other contested areas like Sabina and Scarborough Shoals. Chinese vessels resumed aggressive tactics, water cannons, blockades, even collisions, proving the deal was only a localized truce. The pattern of escalation returned, echoing previous incidents like the February 2023 laser targeting and the June 2024 swarming of a Philippine resupply mission. That June clash, following China's new Coast Guard law, left Filipino sailors injured and vessels damaged, a stark reminder of Beijing's willingness to use force. Manila responded with new maritime laws to strengthen its claims, but China countered by declaring its own baselines around Scarborough Shoal, escalating the legal and physical contest. Tensions peaked when China raised its flag on Sandy Cay, directly challenging the Philippines' presence in the Spratlys. The brief peace of July now seemed distant, replaced by a more intense and unpredictable phase. The cycle of action and reaction made clear diplomacy alone could not deter China's ambitions. The Philippines and its allies faced the reality that the South China Sea dispute was entering a new, more dangerous era. The region braced for what would come next. As tensions rose, the Philippines leaned heavily on its alliance with the United States, anchored by the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty. Washington reaffirmed its commitment. Any armed attack on Philippine forces in the South China Sea would trigger a U.S. response. This assurance emboldened Manila but also raised the stakes. The alliance deepened. More U.S. bases, joint exercises, advanced weapons, and intelligence sharing. Yet uncertainty loomed with the return of a Trump administration, prompting fears that U.S. support could become transactional or conditional. Manila began hedging, seeking new partners to avoid over-reliance on a single ally. The U.S. faced its own dilemma: how to support the Philippines without provoking a direct conflict with China. The challenge was clear: empower Manila, but keep the door open for diplomacy to prevent a great power war. Frustrated by ASEAN's paralysis, the Philippines turned outward, seeking new security partners. ASEAN's consensus model and internal divisions left it unable to confront China's actions or enforce the 2016 tribunal ruling. Manila's disappointment with ASEAN was clear after repeated failures to issue unified statements or make progress on a binding code of conduct. In response, the Philippines embraced minilateralism, building smaller, agile coalitions outside ASEAN. The core group, informally called the Squad, includes Japan and Australia, with new agreements for joint exercises and intelligence sharing. The network is expanding. New Zealand, Canada, and France are joining the web of security ties. This marks a fundamental shift in Philippine foreign policy, no longer relying solely on the US or ASEAN, but forging a diverse portfolio of partnerships. The goal: collective deterrence, so the Philippines is never alone in defending its sovereignty. Manila's diplomatic flurry signals a new era, one where it shapes its own security destiny. The stakes for regional stability have never been higher. Manila's assertive strategy, strengthening alliances and defending its maritime rights, carries immense risk. Every patrol, every new law, raises the chance of miscalculation in crowded, contested waters. A single incident could spiral into a crisis beyond diplomats' control. China's aggressive posture and nationalist rhetoric suggest it's willing to take greater risks. The Mutual Defense Treaty with the US is a deterrent, but also a potential trigger for a wider conflict. Some experts advocate a dual-track approach: build defenses and alliances but also pursue crisis management and diplomatic off-ramps with Beijing. The challenge is to set clear red lines and communication channels to prevent escalation. The Philippines walks a tightrope, too passive, and it risks losing sovereignty, too assertive, and it risks a conflict it cannot win alone. Its current strategy, publicize Chinese aggression, build coalitions, and raise the reputational cost for Beijing. Whether this can keep the peace or spark a larger conflict remains the region's defining question. The South China Sea dispute is now a flashpoint for the entire Indo-Pacific. The Philippines' struggle is a test case for how smaller nations can resist a superpower's pressure. Regional powers are recalibrating, Japan deepens security ties, Australia boosts missile production, and US allies coordinate more closely. China condemns these moves as bloc politics, but its own assertiveness is driving nations together. The rise of minilateral groups like the Quad and AUKUS is reshaping the region, sidelining ASEAN's traditional role. The South China Sea dispute accelerates this fragmentation, pulling Southeast Asia in different directions. The result, a more complex, unpredictable regional order. The world is watching Manila and Beijing. This is more than a bilateral spat. The outcome will help define the rules and security architecture of 21st century Asia. The stakes extend far beyond the Philippines' shores. By August 2025, the Philippines faces a defining crossroads. The Marcos administration must choose double down on alliances and deterrence, risking escalation, or seek accommodation with China, risking sovereignty. A robust alliance network could deter Beijing but might also fuel an arms race. A pivot toward China could bring short-term calm, but at a long-term cost. The world is watching. Manila's choices will shape the region's future. The central challenge, defend sovereignty without triggering catastrophe. The fate of the BRP Sierra Madre is now a symbol of a much larger struggle. The Philippines' next moves will echo across the Indo-Pacific,